would like the panelists to just do some opening remarks with the argument, with the question. Do you feel that the faith-based organizations have deviated from their mission of saving souls by getting into business? Do you agree with that statement or not? Starting with the CEO for Caritas. What is your take?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon once again. My name is David Mukaru. I work for Caritas Microfinance Bank. Yeah. Caritas, you know, is an international body across the world, and deals with related business of the church, really going to where challenges are and ensuring that the human being is well taken care of. But I want to talk about Caritas here in Nairobi, because the Caritas that I represented under the Archdiocese of Nairobi. One, to answer your question, I do not agree with that assumption that faith-based institutions are deviating from their core. The core of the church is both spiritual, social, and economic. So we are within the mandate of the church as an institution. Caritas was born out of a social need, and which is what we are talking about. So it was born out of the need for the congregations within the Archdiocese of Nairobi needing to support themselves, needing to support their agriculture venture, their business venture, basically to improve the economic status. The servant of God, Cardinal Maurice Otunga, formed the first group in a small parish in Keriko Parish, up there in Gatundu North, in 1983. And that is the genesis of what we call the socio-economic empowerment program under Caritas Nairobi.
So maybe we just stop you there. So in your opinion, the church has not deviated from its
No, not at all. The church is actually where it should be. It should even do more. It should be able to come up with more economic empowerment structures to be able to address the challenges that face the people.
And what about yourself, Melanie, as you come in? Do you agree with that statement that the faith-based organizations should engage in business, especially social business, and even just to further it, do you also feel that they should also be subjected to tax, just like other organizations? What is your take?
I don't know about tax. Yeah. I don't want to get into that. Yeah. But again, what I always, when I think about faith and business, what I look at is examples from the Bible, right? Jesus' father, Joseph, was a carpenter, right? He was making money, like for them to eat, right? Even St. Paul says about him being a tent maker. So even the key people in the Bible were involved in business. So business is key. It creates jobs for people to live a dignified life, for people to thrive in society. Even, for example, in my church, when we want to contribute something, you can't contribute if you don't have a job. So faith is very, very critical in business. And about taxes, I don't want to comment about that.
When it comes to your own business or the organization that you are doing,
yes.
Would you consider it as a faith-based or driven social enterprise? And if so, what are some of those things that make it so?
Yes, I work for Transformational Business Network. So what we do capacity building, we are into 3 pillars: capacity building, community, and capital raising. We are faith-based, but not faith-biased. That means we take entrepreneurs and support entrepreneurs from all faiths. But again, there are things we can't compromise on, of course, based on our values.
Maybe you could just expand on that a bit. What things can you compromise? Which ones do you, as you said, the transformative business network?
Yes. So
which ones do you take in, and which ones can you compromise on? Maybe you could just expand a bit so that
So even the entrepreneurs that we onboard for our programs, even we have to do a one-on-one session before we onboard you, and there are key things that we look out for, of course, by asking some few questions. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to live for something higher than you, right?
Yeah.
I think somebody mentioned in the plenary session that it's not all about profits. You have to live for a purpose. You know, like even helping your employees fulfill the purpose that God has for them, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So for us, we choose purpose-driven entrepreneurs who are going to create impact, not just looking to make money. So even from the selection process, we do take entrepreneurs who are purpose-driven, live for something higher, and even in our curriculum, we might not necessarily quote Bible verses in the curriculum, but there's a way we embed ethics within the corporate governance. We help you even have a form of self-awareness as a leader and what it means to be an ethical leader in your business.
Yeah, so later on I'll request her to give us some examples, even David as well as Melanie, of some of the successful organizations that you have been able to nurture on a faith-based basis, but not now. But just coming on to Irene, what is your take on this as you do your opening? Do you think it is right for faith-based organizations to engage in business and what are the benefits? And what is the organization doing about it?
Well, thank you. Allow me to first congratulate Tangaza on the award of the charter. My name is Irene Muridi. I work with Personal Development Institute in the last 14 years. And prior to that, I worked in the banking sector. And I just want to support what my two colleagues have already said, that my take is that faith and business should go hand in hand, because we have so many examples of faith-based individuals, both in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, who are in some form of trade. So what we believe at Personal Development Institute, and especially our offshoot that's called the Kingdom Connect, that brings entrepreneurs and professionals together online, is that we are anointed by our Lord Jesus Christ for business. Yeah. So that's my take.
That's your take.
Yeah.
And thank you. So maybe just on the same, there are also examples of some pastors or church leaders who have been known to be very successful in business, and then they show off when they're in their planes, they're in their limo. Do you think it is the right thing to happen or not? There's one, I will not name names, but they show off in Twitter, on Facebook, while they're enjoying their holiday, and they say that they're entrepreneurs. What do you think about that?
I think the show-off is unnecessary, because we learn from our Lord as Jesus is such a servant leader and an example of humility. So even as we serve in the marketplace and bringing our faith to the marketplace, I do not believe we should be showing off. There's a difference between show-off and a place for encouragement. Like when we come to Tangaza and we see what you are doing, we are encouraged that being people of faith does not mean mediocrity. There should be a level of excellence, but that excellence does not equate pride and a show-off. So there should be some balance.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So coming to further, and especially because the African Jesuit AIDS Network has been doing a lot in this space, perhaps you could just tell us briefly your take on this topic, and perhaps why the church is engaged in what it does, and more on the agenda. So again, with the same question, should the faith-based organizations be involved in business, or social business for that matter, or social enterprise? And if yes or no, some reasons, and then you can also go ahead and speak briefly about agenda.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Father Ishmael Matambura. I'm a Jesuit from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and I'm the director of the African Jesuit AIDS Network, which is in the Office of Health and Youth Development of the Jesuit Conference of Africa and Madagascar, which coordinates Jesuit activities in different countries in Africa and Madagascar. And today we are We have 17 countries which are part of the network. So the question on is the church or the faith-based institution, have they deviated? I think as my colleagues have said, I think we are serving the same people, the same people who are living, and that we want, for whom we promote dignity of life. They are the same who are living the challenges that we are having today. So I think faith involves human development in all the dimensions. And so it's not a deviation, but for me, I could say it's now taking care of the human person in a holistic way. And actually that's what we are doing now at the African Jesuit AIDS Network, where we have been dealing with the prevention of HIV by promoting the value with our program that we call African HIV and AIDS program, which is basically meant for promoting values and at the same time fighting against HIV and other social issues that the youth and other people are facing. But now, to complete that program, then we have started another program that we call the Jesuit Youth-Led Entrepreneurship Action, which now is building on the value-based program, because for us, we cannot only think that values will happen or somebody will live a virtuous life without in the face of economic hardship. So it's good to now, on top of the value promotion, to add now the question of economic empowerment or economic self-reliance, so that the person is really fully alive. And as you know, our motive is what we see. If you read the Bible in the chapter in Luke, we will see that Jesus was asked a question. He was teaching the people, and then his disciples told him that, okay, now let the people go and look for something to eat. And you know what he told them: you give yourselves something to eat. So for us, that's one of the motivation. So we are really on the right place where we need to be. And so that's really the mission of Jesus, giving the people something to eat. And the way of doing that is really getting involved in the social entrepreneurship. So if you want to get that, the whole story is in Luke chapter 9, from verse 11 to 17, but here I'm talking basically on the verse 13, which really says, give them yourself something to eat. So I could say briefly, that's what we are doing now. And the program, as I said, as you said, that I should also say a little bit about that program. We are already at the phase of, we have trained already some people. In 13 countries, we have 65 trained people in the entrepreneurial action. And they are already at this time also training their first cohort to really bring the youth and women, especially on board in terms of social economic empowerment, and of course also is a way of fighting the vulnerability that they face. As you know, the youth, the women, they are really among the people who are vulnerable and who needs really to be empowered. And something that we really realized that in implementing this is that among those 65, we have 40% of 65% of those they are women, young girls. So to say that there is also that big interest in these social enterprises among the women, and that's for us is a motive of encouragement and of hope. Yes.
So maybe if I just stop you there briefly and go to Melanie. In the process of doing your business, as you are doing your business, has there been an occasion where your faith, you ended up making a very big decision because of your faith? Any example where you had to make a very big business decision which was influenced by your faith?
So thank you for your question, Mr. Morris. I don't run a business per se, but I support businesses.
Yes.
And I've seen challenges that businesses face where they have had to maybe not compromise. So perhaps I can give that example.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have an example of one entrepreneur who runs a hospital. And they were trying to get into the NHIF insurance. And as you might know, some government institutions, they're usually a bit bureaucratic, and some people would wish to be compromised, because I think they wanted to have a pharmacy within the hospital, but of course there is what they require, the statutory requirements for that. And that meant that to shorten the process, they had to pay a bribe. So for them, they chose to take the longer route, and it took almost 3 years. But eventually they did get it. So those are some of the examples I've seen. It will take longer if you don't compromise and your conscience is clear. Or you compromise, it takes a shorter period, but still it lingers in your conscience. Was it the right thing to do? Yeah.
Yeah. And when you come to it, like David, the Caritas is operating in a very competitive environment where you have to, as sisters just said, sometimes you have to cut shortcuts to make it. How has the bank survived? And have you also had a situation where your faith guided your decision, and yet the bank has to expand? I think the Caritas is one of the fastest growing microfinance institutions. Has it all been jolly, or are there situations where your faith has guided your business decision, and either you went south or north?
We make these decisions every day. We say we are an ethically driven bank. We are actually a social bank. If we are to define who Caritas is, purely social. Our first focus is doing good and ensuring that we empower the family. And that's why when you look at Caritas Bank, it will say twaimarisha jamii. We improve the family, the community. That is our tagline. And our position in the community is we want to be remembered as your trusted, ethical, financial service provider. So to us, ethics is key. It is critical. And we practice them every day, and we make those decisions every day. For instance, we are faced, many people don't want to say what they want to go and use the money for when they are borrowing. They'll just say business expansion. But what is business expansion when you are running a business? Yeah, that is a general term. And many businesses have collapsed because of not being specific on what they want to do. Our ethical approach demands that we get what is the reason? What is it? Even if you want to expand your business, what do you want to expand? You can be expanding your shop to make it bigger. You can be making it better so that now it becomes attractive. You can be adding more working material, working capital, or buying more stock, or opening another shop, you have to be very specific. And that is ethics. You have to be ethically guided to be convinced that that is a good decision. We deny people loans. If you are not clear on what you want to do, we will deny your facility. And it's because we are an ethically driven financial service provider. It has to be very, very clear what you need that money for. Number two, we believe through our ethics that we have to provide you with information first, what we call financial education. We will never give you a loan facility if we have not educated you. Some people want to get a loan now. Me, what I want is a loan right now. Not that information you're giving, but information is power. We were just told during the plenary that 46% of our businesses will die in the first 1 year. Why does it die? These are the main reasons as to why. So we make difficult decisions as a bank, and that is why we have grown the way we have grown. For the last 5 years, Caritas Bank has been voted the fastest growing microfinance bank in Kenya. For the last 5 years, in a row.
What is the interest you charge?
Interest, we have various products. We have products
Just
that...
give us the range.
It's not a range. You see, it's you talk about clients. There are different type of clients,
Okay.
and those are the mistakes you make in. You ask what is the interest. Interest is relative. There are people who are doing agriculture. That's a different approach. There are people who are in commercial business. There is the church. The church also borrows. We have parishes that borrow to expand their compounds.
So for the churches, for example, what is the interest?
About 16%.
16%.
Between 13 and 16%.
But aside from that, aside from Caritas Bank itself, I'm also aware that you're supporting the self-help groups,
Precisely.
churches, which charge a low interest. Maybe we'll just briefly about that, and then Irene, you will be speaking about what is the role of the organization in building these ethical leaders. So we'd like to speak maybe the difference between the social development programs in the churches and the Caritas, the loans, how you're able to keep afloat despite of charging the low interest. Yeah, briefly.
First and foremost, the social development programs run by Caritas, countrywide, are what you call the church entry strategy to be able to empower the people, train the people on basic savings and credits, borrowing small amounts, guaranteeing each other, and they get used to managing their finances. Caritas Microfinance Bank, at that level, we provide financial education to those people. Then, when they grow from their small micro businesses, we are able now to give them a home. So we are what you call a retention strategy for the church. So we give.
So that is the long-term strategy.
Exactly, that's the retention strategy. So they build their records at the development programs. They borrow small amounts, they guarantee each other, they establish their businesses, and their businesses survive. We are told that businesses will die within the first 1 year. But at that level, that becomes like our nursery. The way you nurture a nursery, trees, seeds, and everything, that is where we nurture them. And they're able to go beyond the death rate stage. Then the bank, we come and provide them with what we call upscaled financial services, proper bank services, which are much cheaper than commercial banks. Remember, we are a social bank. They are much cheaper, they are much friendly, and they are much ethical.
So maybe I'm going to intervene. So in other words, I think the main takeaway, a lot of you have said a lot, is that you prepare the people before they take the loan.
Precisely.
Yeah, you don't just give money and you do checking.
And that is an ethical foundation in financial services.
Yeah.
You just don't give loans before you encourage them to save, before you encourage them to consume other products like financial education, before you train them on insurance and the importance of insurance, and before they even start borrowing. They start borrowing small amounts. You just don't give somebody so much money at once. So it's a graduated approach to financial services.
So it is advanced, it is better than these cheap loans you get from mobile.
But very expensive.
Very expensive.
Very, very extremely expensive, and that is why...
Before you comment on it, I wanted to ask Irene. When Mukaro has talked so much about ethical borrowing, leadership, preparation, etc. What does your institute do to prepare young people to become ethical even in business?
Thank you. What we do at Personal Development Institute, we are a training organization. We also coach and we also mentor. And one of the modules that is part of the program is actually leadership. And so we encourage the young and the young at heart to become leaders, servant leaders like Christ, and that is how we are able to navigate the challenges that we all face in the marketplace. You asked a very good question because it's a recent experience. Our organization is developing some properties in Naivasha, and we were faced with a huge, okay, I've said the place, I do want to name the county government. Now the cat is already out of the bag, but we were faced with a very big challenge because somebody wanted to be bribed in millions to get their approvals. And because of what we teach and what we practice, we chose, just like he has said, to go the longer route. So approvals that should have been out maybe by 3 months took us about 7 months. We were just at the site yesterday to now commence. So this is to encourage all of us who are out there and taking a stand for the kingdom of God in the marketplace. Because sometimes it's easy to generalize and say Kenyans are corrupt. But there are Kenyans taking a stand for righteousness and doing the right thing, which is all about ethics, in their own very small ways. It may never be national news, but when we sit in such forums, you get to hear the experiences. So that's how Personal Development Institute is preparing leaders, but we ourselves are faced with the same challenges, and we have to take a stand for what is right, what is ethical, and that means following the due process, which most of the times in Kenya, let's be honest, will always be the longer route. But if you don't compromise, if you don't give in, you eventually get what you need to get from the government.
Thank you very much. So before I come to further, I just want to alert the participants, if you have a question, I don't know that anybody has a question to throw to the panel. We have about 10 minutes to go. Yes?
It's just a very quick one, maybe to the Sea of Caritas and to Father. What do you think the organization Caritas can embrace to be able to fit for the future generation needs, in order to be able to fit in the future generation needs? That's for you. And then for Father is from observation, the enrollment to priesthood is not as much as used to be amongst the current generation. How can this be improved?
So thank you. So Father might comment on that, ideally, but though it's a topic for a different date, but it's very pertinent. But I can touch on it briefly. But is there somebody else with a question? Yes, please say your name and the question. What is your name, brother? The previous questioner. Michael. Michael, thank you, Michael. Yes.
Yes, please. My name is Alex from Ghana. Yes, it's an open-ended question, so anyone can take. It's continuation from one of the questions we discussed about the business component. So at what point do we see the line, or do we cross or maintain the line in working as a faith-based social enterprise institution? At what point? Because at the end of it all, there should be a return, right, on the investment, whether the return is finance, impact, or whatever it is. But at what point do we take that decision? Because sometimes there's that discussion that faith-based organizations should not go beyond their social services. But at the same time, the institutions and the organizations must also try to become sustainable. So there's always that kind of continuum, and that's why I wanted to, you are practitioners, you have the experiences, and maybe share with us will help us. Thank you very much.
Lady, yeah, please go on.
My name is Mercy, and it's not a question, but it's just a comment, an observation. When we talk about faith-based social entrepreneur businesses, it seems as though we are addressing a particular faith, from my observation, because from other faiths, and I'll mention the Muslims and the Hindus, there's no distinction between faith and business. It's one and the same thing, and it flows. And maybe this is where we need to challenge ourselves as those followers of Jesus Christ. What is it about our faith that separates the two?
Is something that has to be changed in the way people were introduced to their faith. so that now we make that clear that our faith is really about sustaining life and promoting life, and social enterprises, they really go in that direction. And second is about sustainability. I think what we are saying here is that social enterprises, they are about transforming the society. We have been, yes, running things. You have a project, you get the money, then you run the activities. When they are finished, you close your office and you wait for the other money to come. How can we be sustainable? I think one way for me is what we are suggesting here, going in the direction of social enterprises. If it's a school, make sure that the school is giving education, at the same time is also producing something to sustain itself. Otherwise, the school won't go far. The same with any other things that we can do. So I think it's really educating ourselves in how we can use our talent, our ideas, to use the networks we have, and that's what we are talking about here. Make sure what we are doing is sustainable, and we put in place some strategies for that. And the social enterprises is one of them. There are others.
Thank you very much. Irene, response to any of those questions?
Thank you. I'd like to respond to my brother who asked about at what point do we ensure, and it's really a sustainability question, there is return on investment. And what I would echo is what our father has said, there needs to be a mindset shift. We need to ask ourselves very important questions so that we are not forever relying on the donors, and when they pull out, then we are in trouble. And when you read a scripture, one of the scriptures, for example, that says, I am the Lord who teaches you how to profit, then that should give us a mindset shift that there is nothing wrong with making profits as long as money doesn't become now a god that we worship. There is every good reason for businesses to be sustainable. So a mindset shift is needed in all our organizations and businesses and even in the church. And I love what Mercy has said. When we talk about faith, for example, at Personal Development Institute, we have Muslims, and I'm sure even the same for Tangaza. We have people of other faiths who come to do business with us, and they don't have that dichotomy between business. You go to an Asian shop, they are doing their thing as they serve you. One time I worked at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and I used to observe, even when they are making the boarding call to board the flight, a Muslim will throw their prayer mat and just say their quick prayer, then go and board the aircraft. So Christians have for the long time been a bit shy, and I think it's a mindset shift because we need to ask ourselves, did Jesus call us to religion, or did he call us to a kingdom? And a kingdom is a government. And just like all earthly governments, there is the place for profit and sustainability in everything that we are doing. So that dichotomy between Sunday being the holy day and Monday as a business day, is it evil then? Because it's the Lord who has made all the days, Sunday and Monday. So that dichotomy and that mindset shift needs to happen for our businesses to become sustainable.
So you're basically talking about the typical person who during the week is a business person.
Yes.
Very different from Sunday.
Exactly.
In fact, sometimes somebody was commenting about Kenya in general, even the way we drive. In church we are very, very faithful, we do everything nicely. But the moment you get out of the gate, you change. So
there needs to be the integrity of the person. I'm the same person on Monday in church, and I'm the same person on Thursday when I'm doing business.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
What about Melanie?
I think for me, I'll answer the question from the lady. I can't remember her name. Rita. Okay, thank you, Rita, for your question. On faith-based business, looking to sustainability, looking to profitability. So there are key principles in business that are usually just basic. You have to be clear on the business model, like product market fit. Like whatever you're selling, whatever you're making, whatever you're producing, whatever service product that you have, does it have customers? So So as you look to become sustainable, as you look to become profitable, you have to be clear on those basic business principles, which we do echo in our program at the Transformational Business Network. And I agree with Irene about the mindset change. Or you need to change your mind. You need to look at, in fact, I think even for a business, you need to have a profit arm and non-profit. Like have a foundation and a limited. So that you know this one is for making money and this one is for receiving the donor money. Yeah, so I think that's what I have for my contribution. And also, you have to bring your team up to speed. Probably if you are more dependent on donor money, it's about now trying to change also the mindset of your teams so that they're the ones who are going to carry your vision. If the team is not with you, you're not going to achieve. So it's also important to bring your team up to speed to your vision and where you see the organization going. Yeah, so that's my contribution.
Thank you. You've said something very, very key, but perhaps we might not have sufficient time to talk about it.
Yeah.
On whether a business should have these two entities separate, the foundation and the company. Okay, I work for a foundation myself, CPF Foundation, and I recently attended a discussion where the facilitator challenged us that are we doing good business or are we doing business in a good way? Maybe we don't have an answer right now. Yeah, so that is it that a portion of your work is where you are seen to be doing good and the others are doing everything else? Or should all your business be something impacting society? But maybe just coming to, as we almost closing, Bana Mukaru, perhaps there's a question which has not been answered. You want to comment on it? And then just 30 seconds as the closing remarks as we give like a call to action for the participants in this meeting.
It was the first question, and thank you very much for that question about the bank and the future. What is it that we need to do about the bank and how do we grow the bank? What I can say is that we need to build a low-cost business model, which is what we are actually building. A low-cost business model, financial model, because we usually say that it's a lack of finances that stops us from doing many things. One, because probably the finances are not there, and when they are there, they are very expensive. So as a church-based bank, Catholic-based bank, our objective is to build a low-cost business model so that now our youth of the future and our business people of the future can be able to have a sustainable home for them to be able to grow their businesses by banking, by borrowing, by getting insurance services, because it is critical. And what have we done to be able to build as a good business model, a low-cost business model? We are implementing what we call a parish-based parish development model, PDM, parish development model. What it says is that the parish in each and every area is the focal center of development. And that is how now we want the church to come out and be strong in terms of engaging the community, coming up strongly and be able to assist the community to do the best they can around the area they are in. So that the local priest, apart from preaching, is also a manager of resources that are being managed by the community. And what the bank is doing is now implementing the PDM, parish development model. Around the parish development model, what we are doing is to ensure that there is what we call ecosystem banking. That the church ecosystem is able to bank in Caritas, the school that is around there, the church itself when they are collecting tithe and when they are collecting sadaka on Sunday, the hospital when they are around there, the businesses like now when you come to Holy Family Minor Basilica, we have the parking silo, we have the businesses around there, the rentals, that all the funds, all the monies collected on behalf of the church are collected through Caritas.